everybody? It is May the 13th, 2025. It isn't going to be for you because we're pre-recording this, but that's the date for today. And we're coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting, their #1 true crime show called Into the Fire with Jason White, yours truly. I'm super excited to be here. And I haven't aired this episode yet either. We did another pre-record over the weekend, Saturday, here in my living room with Steve-O from, there he is, superstar from Jackass. What a guy. I mean, what a guy. Not only then, later that night, we ended up meeting it up with him and Preston Lacey. And Preston's just a super good guy. And Steve-O, I can't say enough about him. I promised, I have his phone number now, and I promised him, hey, man, I'm not going to stalk you. I promise. But on occasion, I might have to message him. He was just absolutely awesome to give us his time, and I can't say enough about it. It was excellent. And his show, Amanda, ironically, our Amanda that's behind the curtain, Amanda said that she saw him by chance about a week ago up there in Nova Scotia, Canada, and that's where she's from. And so she said the show was epic, and it really was. I couldn't believe how funny this guy was. My cheek, I'm telling you, I'm still sore from laughing, and it was really, really something special that I won't forget. Man, we've got some epic guests coming on. Everybody that I bring on here, I don't bring just fillers on. Every single person that I bring on here is somebody that I have been impressed with, and tonight is going to be no different. And before we get started, though, I thought I would do this too. I would just kind of mention some of the other guests that we've had on this show. I wanted to just make an additional note that, hey, Billy Queen, he's got a book out there. Give it a shot. It's a great book. Kevin Briggs, if you haven't seen that episode, he's the guardian of the Golden Gate. He's got a book out, which is awesome. I've read that one, and I am reading this one, Buford Pusser, The Other Story. This is from Mike Elam. And all of those books you could get on eBay or you could get on Amazon. I'm sure they'd probably rather you got it on Amazon because then they'll see something from it. But I just wanted to remind that. And I think what I'll do in the future is I'll kind of mention some of the other books of the authors and just guests that have come on here because a lot of them have written books. Let's get to this guest. I don't want to waste any of his time. And I'm going to tell you, this guy's something that he's an individual that I was very impressed with. To tell you I don't really know him that well. I know his wife. His wife's a good friend of mine. I've known her for years. But I didn't really know him so well. I knew of him. I've seen him. I see him on LinkedIn a bunch. And I saw him speak while we were at the academy. And we have to have, as a police officer, we have to have in-service training. And that's probably standard throughout this country where you go and you have to requalify for shooting. You have to take certain classes. One of the classes that you have to take is mental health update, which is sometimes brutal to sit through, but it's all necessary training. And so I happen to be watching him speak about something that our department has bought onto, and that is ABLE, and he's going to explain all that at great length. But let's introduce him to you. Bobby Zigmont. He grew up in Bixby, Oklahoma area. Bobby always had a dream to pursue law enforcement. And as a kid, Bobby would dress up in his finest blue button-up shirts and slacks, throw on his toy gun belt, and pin on his plastic star to chase down the bad guys around the house. After graduating high school, Bobby attended Oklahoma State University for an engineering degree, but moved back to Tulsa after a couple of years. For 16 years, Bobby worked in the fire sprinkler industry, putting his engineering skills to good use by designing fire suppression systems before moving into contract sales. The desire for a law enforcement career never left him, though, so Bobby started attending Northeastern State University, where he obtained a bachelor's and master's degree in criminal justice. Man, impressive. In 2010, Bobby's dream came to fruition when he started with the Bixby Police Department as a reserve officer before moving into the full-time police officer position. And during his tenure there, Bobby served in several roles, including school resource officer, highway safety grant coordinator, honor guard member, SWAT operator, and patrol supervisor. And in 2022, Bobby left the Bixby Police Department as a patrol corporal to attend our police academy, the Tulsa Police Academy, where probably got a big jump in pay from doing that too. Bobby graduated the 30 week, my goodness, it's 30 weeks now. The 30-week academy, top of his class, winning the Corporal Jared Shoemaker Top Scholar Award and the Top Shot Award. So well done, sir. That doesn't happen very often. After a year and a half at the Tulsa Police Department, Bobby was certified as a field training officer. He is currently assigned to the Riverside Division as a field training officer, where he helps build up the next generation of police officers. Bobby was also certified as one of the several Tulsa police officers as an active bystandership for law enforcement instructor through Georgetown University Law Center, where he currently teaches the program during the department's yearly in-service training. And that's where I saw him teach. That's where I was impressed with him. Bobby is married to his beautiful wife, Sharon, who is an awesome person who I adore. And she's also a weekend anchor for one of the local news networks. Bobby and Sharon have two gorgeous little girls who light up their lives, and Bobby loves everything outdoors, playing soccer, watching his girls play soccer, and restoring old cars. Very cool. Let's bring out Bobby Zigmont. Bobby,
right.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jason.
Man, is this your first podcast, or have you been on others?
No, I've been on one other. So
okay. Well, welcome. And listen, I was watching you while you were at the academy. First of all, when I'm reading your biography, you were a school resource officer. I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You were really, really impressive going into a room full of a bunch of old guys. And I wasn't even the oldest. I wasn't even close. There was people that had been on the department much longer. And you're going in there and you're talking about a subject that it needs to be talked about. And I tell it first of all, why did you come to the Tulsa Police Department? What was it about our department that really kind of attracted you?
Well, I mean, one thing that I've always loved about Tulsa was, I mean, it's a very progressive department. I mean, they're cutting edge. And, you know, especially when it comes to, say, like, use of the media. I mean, use of like social media, the news, obviously being married to a wife that's in the local news. You know, she was always so impressed with how well the officers, the supervisors could like pass on the important information, let the community know, but also knowing that there's certain things you can't talk about, especially in some investigations. But, you know, and just Tulsa has such a wide variety of different departments and different divisions, and you know, the sky's the limit kind of with Tulsa when it comes to being able to kind of do so many different things, so many different facets of law enforcement. Right. And, you know, I just kind of got to a point in my career at the other department that, you know, I knew I needed a bigger step. You know, I needed to challenge myself. It kind of gets a little easy sometimes when you reach certain levels at a department, and it was a little bit humbling to start a whole, you know, fresh from the bottom, give up all my seniority, but it's made all the difference because, you know, Tulsa's been a great department, has been very welcoming for me. And I did not expect to be, you know, find myself teaching at the academy to officers that I've, you know, I look to as mentors, officers I look to and just admire. I mean, like you, Jason, I mean, I've watched you on the news, or, you know, on A&E on the First 48, and you know, years ago. And I was so amazed to see, you know, number one, Tulsa, my hometown, be on TV, but, you know, to sit there and see how you guys tackle, you know, homicides and investigate things and get a 100% solve rate with homicides, and, you know, and then to be able to come over and work at the department is just phenomenal. So
yeah, I agree with you. I think, I get to teach all over the country, and I usually go to, I try to get to as many destinations as I can throughout the year, but I have to work too. That's the downside.
yeah.
But when I go over other places, I really sit back. I not only do I talk to other cops all over the place, but I watch. I take in and I learn as much about the departments and so forth across this country. And we really have something special here. I would completely agree with you. Those of you that are listening, if you have a bachelor's degree, you should really consider an exciting career with us. I mean, they just changed our retirement up to 90%. So that's very kind of you to say, Bobby. I appreciate that. I was so impressed as I was sitting there listening to you, because you came in there with exuding, not only you're a good speaker, and that's certainly helpful when you're one of the students sitting there. But not only that, but you really came in there with confidence, and you were excited about being there, and you were talking highly of our police department. But really, what are you wanting to do on this department down the line? What is your dream job here, if you don't mind me asking?
My ultimate dream since I was a little kid is be a chief of police. I mean, I want to be that top level where I can at least make the best difference I can at an agency. And whether it's Tulsa or another agency, finding myself in that role. When I got promoted at Bixby, being a supervisor, meant a lot to me, because you can literally shape not only officers' careers, but you can change the dynamics of an entire community just by being a good supervisor and being a good administrator. You can do the same thing. You can change the whole temperature of the morale of an agency just by the things you do and what you bring to the table. And I've seen agencies where the chief is, just can kind of suck the life, that administration can suck the life out of a department because they're just not great, leaders of themselves. And then I've seen it change totally different, where somebody comes on board and they're just somebody you just want to follow. They just walk into a room and you're just like, there's something about this person I want to be. And they know how to bring people up, and push them forward and not drag them around and browbeat them and stuff. So
no, right.
The end goal, that's definitely what I want. But along the way, it's just like being, the field training position. I didn't get a chance to do that at Bixby. That spot wasn't open when I was there, and excuse me, ended up promoting before I ever got a chance to field train. But coming over here to Tulsa, when that opportunity came up, the great thing with Tulsa was that, in our policy, it's technically 3 years. You have to be on the department before you can put in for a field training officer. But they do have an exception to where if you have prior experience, you just kind of got to outline it and pass it through your chain of command, and they have to sign off and accept it. And, I had great leadership that could see, all the things that I could bring to the table in all my 12 prior years of experience. Cause I'm in my 15th year now, and I wouldn't change anything for it. Maybe come over to Big Tulsa sooner. So, but that's made a big difference. And the different roles that kind of open up, I kind of look for them. I definitely see myself coming in somewhere as a detective, hopefully somewhere, somehow down the road. So
any particular area?
I'm kind of open to a lot of certain things. I try not to be like closed-minded and just have one ideal. So I do admire you guys in the homicide division. You guys are amazing. Not only just amazing people, but in men and women across the board, but just the skill set you guys bring to the table. And the officers that work at the department, speak so highly of the homicide unit. So
Yeah, I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. And,
Yeah.
I couldn't, you know what, if people want to know the ingredients for that and that are sitting out there, because there's cops that watch this thing from all over the place. And actually first responders even watch this from over in Europe and Australia, et cetera. But I'll tell you right now, teamwork makes the dream work. And really a lot of it comes to our success is that because we have a really good relationship within the public, with the public, all in all, even though there's a deep, dark history in our city going way back. But we've made great strides, and that's kind of segues into what we're going to talk about here shortly. But that's good. I could see you getting into detective division. I want to see somebody like you get in there. As I was sitting there, and I'm not just sitting here trying to stroke you, but basically I just thought that, hey, yeah, this guy's a shining star. He's gonna do some things on the department, and that's good. That's what we want, and I'm glad when we have taken a shining star from another department and we've let them join our ranks. That's great. You're a field training officer, which is something I got to do. I got to do that twice, and in doing so, how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
So I just turned 50.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're 50. Yeah. And so we're kind of in the same, we grew up watching the same shows for the most part. And so what is it about the younger generation for you? Because I teach in the academy, so I get introduced to them, but what is it actually working with them out on the streets of the younger officer of today? What are they like? I mean, what are you noticing that's kind of their biggest issues transforming into becoming a police officer?
I think I'll tell you this much. I love technology. I mean, technology is great. It is absolutely. I mean, it changes every industry, but for law enforcement, it's been a game changer in things. I mean, I remember back, growing up in the 80s and 90s where, just like DNA. Evidence that was just really up and coming. But even that, it was so hard to obtain. The labs really struggled with it. But nowadays, the technology to just extract DNA, to investigate that, but not only with that, but using like the social networks of like 23andMe and, all those genealogy deals, like, they use that to catch the Golden Gate Killer.
Golden State Killer. Yeah,
Golden State Killer there in California. And it's things like that amaze me. But like with the younger generations, like you and I mean, it's probably easy to look back and say so much of what we did was pad and paper and pen and, a lot of writing down and note taking. Just all being out on the street. Yeah. Just physically knowing your beat.
Yeah.
And, but with the younger generation, technology has been like in their face. I mean, everything they've had is technologically advanced, smartphones, cameras. And so for one thing I noticed with a lot of the younger officers coming on, I mean, they bring a lot of teaching to the trainers a lot of times, because, your field training officer is usually an older officer that's been on long enough, or at least had a more advanced career. And they're coming in, being able to multitask through, it's like for us, for example, we use Flock, the Flock camera system. They're very well versed in that. That's an easy thing. It's not even a teachable thing you almost have to do. They can find a way to, all the little rules and everything. And, but also doing that, stepping through, the computer system, the typing, everything that has been something they're so comfortable with. The downside, the disadvantage is there's something missed about like the old school way of doing stuff, of knowing your community, knowing where you're at, which houses are the houses that you need to watch, which people are connected to which people. And that you don't really get that through technology. You just get that through being out on the street, knowing the street, driving the beat, knowing the ins and outs. what alley goes this way? If somebody takes off on foot and they're going north, which way are they going to go? How can I cut them off? And that's, that's sometimes the harder thing to teach younger generation is sometimes you just got to do things old school, and, finding things and making connections is just being out there, walking the beat or driving the beat or whatever it is. So,
or just communicating. I think that the most important tool that a cop has in their toolbox is their ability to communicate with people. Period.
Yeah.
Being able to communicate with people is going to keep you from getting hopefully into fights. We don't want to fight. I can remember years ago, just real quick. I remember I was on a search warrant. And it was actually Nathan Schilling's very first homicide case. And while we were dealing with that, there was a young cop that was outside. And I said, "Hey, man, how's it going?" And he goes, "It's going all right." We were up in North Tulsa. And I said, he goes, "Well, I haven't been able to get into it with anybody today. So it's kind of a slow day." And I was thinking, God, if that is what this guy's life is like, and he's wanting to get into it with people all night, that's going to be a very, very long and miserable career.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and the other thing I wanted to mention too, you're into classic cars and fixing them up. What do you do for that? Yeah. What tell me what that's about.
So
that's mine, by the way. That's mine, by the way.
Nice. Yeah, is that you got like a 65?
66.
66. All right.
I bought that when I was 16 years old, and I still have it. It's in my garage. Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, so growing up, one thing that I always was impressed, like my dad was born and raised downtown Chicago. And when he was like 16, his parents had bought his older brother a bunch of cars, but they never bought him a car. So he goes down, he'd been working at a auto parts store, and he goes down and buys 2 junker cars at the salvage yard. He buys one, the donor car, and one, the car he was going to build up. And that man completely rebuilt his first car by hand, out in just downtown Chicago. And seeing that pride in him, and I mean, that's something that always amazed me. And he had rebuilt a 56 Chevy. And I just remember seeing those pictures of those cars, the chrome, the big white wall tires, the fins and things like that. And then, so I just kind of always was impressed with cars, and he taught me a lot about working on them. And,
cool.
Over the years, I ended up, I bought a 62 Galaxy I was going to fix up, and I had it in the garage, and right before Sharon and I had started dating, and then lo and behold, we were going to get married, and it didn't run. So I needed money for a ring. So I ended up selling it, and didn't think I was ever going to get another old car. But I actually have a 51 Chevy now in my garage. Nice. And it was running when I got it, but went to, tinkering on the motor and realized, it didn't have any oil pressure. So I ended up yanking a whole motor out, and it's now completely tore apart. And so I'm going to redo the whole engine and just kind of do a restoration, nice. Little resto.
A good healthy habit.
Yes.
So good for you. I love that because it's something other than thinking about this job. Good for you. So let's talk about Able. And Able, put that logo up there, Amanda. So that's tell me what that stands for again, and tell me the history of this organization and kind of what this is all about.
So Able stands for Active Bystandership for Law Enforcement. So the big thing that I think pretty much social scientists have kind of noticed, especially in our career. If you just look at people in general, you're either active in life or you're passive in life. And, it's when it's like looking at something bad that's happening out in the street, and witnesses are all standing there, and they're filming somebody getting hurt or beat or, something happening. And, the question becomes, are you involved? And people say, well, no, you're not. Well, actually you are. You're actually almost encouraging it by being passive, by not taking an active role in preventing that or getting those people help or things like that. you're passively being a part of something, So Georgetown University Law Center, through social scientists looking at, our career, for example, recognizing that, number one, we hold a lot of authority in our job. I mean, we take people's rights away very easily for crimes they commit. And, that constitutional side of things that we kind of have to adhere to, we can see a lot of police officers across the nation get themselves hemmed up in a lot of stuff where they cross that line, those excessive uses of force, or, we're starting to see the huge trend in, first responder suicides. And the big questions, becoming is, what is happening? Why does this occur? And is there anything that we can do to, number one, prevent situations where officers are still doing the right thing, still protecting the community, not overreaching, not getting themselves in a situation where we're using excessive force, but also looking out for our own mental health, making sure that we have long-lasting careers. We're not getting caught up into legal liability and civil liability and lawsuits. We're not getting fired. We're not getting suspended. And, what are some things that we can do? And so, the ABLE program was started through, Georgetown University Law Center, and in an effort to help teach and equip officers with the tools we can have to move our career forward, and while also protecting our communities. And, it's not just something you can do. So agencies have to partner with Georgetown Law University or Georgetown University Law Center. And there's not only you have to kind of request to be part of this program, you have to actually have your entire, your governmental agency, your city council, your mayoral staff to be able to sign off on this. It's something they have to agree to do. And then not only is that, but you have to have community buy-in. So, you had to have community programs that have to say, yes, we want so like, for example, for the Tulsa Police Department, we had to have a couple different community programs that say, yes, we want the Tulsa Police Department to have this program. We sign off, we agree, and we want their officers to be taught this program. And then once you get that accepted, then you can then begin to be trained to become instructors. And then from those instructors, we can start sharing this program, because as instructors, we have to go through the week-long program of understanding what ABLE is all about, the program itself, how to properly teach it, because it's not a program that we can just haphazardly throw around.
Right.
It's a very strict program. So,
and not only that, but cops are not easy. They're not digging change. They've never been notorious for like, oh my God, this is great. Where has this program been my whole life?
Right.
You have to really change the culture of the officer. I can't remember anything that I've ever sat through that people are like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad. So this thing started out, somebody had to have went. I'm assuming there was a chief that probably went to an international chiefs convention and said, oh, this is great. We should bring that to our department. Is that kind of how this got started, or did an officer hear about it from another department?
Yeah, the depths of the early beginnings of ABLE, I don't know, but I would probably easily agree that people recognize that a need for change, because the alternative is we continue to see litigation go up. We continue to see officers make bad decisions based on the mistakes they make, whether it's through poor mental health and wellness, which is, one of the pillars of the program. There's just a lot of what we do every day day in and day out, whether it's on the job or at home, that we, can affect what we do out on the street. And that's how this program, is functions, is helps us tie everything together. So that way, when we do get out there and we get into those split second decisions we're making them on with a sound mind, with a healthy body, healthy mind, and looking out for each other. Because the other part of this is, we see YouTube videos, we see all this across the nation where, officers go to step in to maybe help another officer do something. We saw it where one agency where the sergeant's kind of berating a guy in the squad car. He's in handcuffs and he's pushing and shoving him, and the female officer comes up behind him just to stop him, hey, and he turns around and, puts a hand around her throat and yells at her and screams at her. And, we don't want officers doing that. We want to be able to protect, like she's doing, protecting him. We want officers to be able to step in and intervene on each other when we are doing wrong.
Right. So. That's good. I think that this is something that's probably long overdue. And with any one of these instances that ends up as being the next YouTube viral moment, we take several steps backwards with respect to our relationship with the public. I mean, that thing that happened up in Minneapolis is something that I just remember sitting there going, geez, here we go again. This just caused us to go backward years in with the relationship that we had and have worked very hard to have with the public. And it's not just so this is just for my understanding, it's not just a situation like at the end of a pursuit, which let me tell you, I've been in many of these a long time ago, but when I was in those, then you get pretty ramped up. I mean, you first of all, you're elevated, your pulse rate has elevated, your intrinsic heart rate is elevated. You can sometimes get really pissed off because of the danger that they have caused not only to themselves and the public, but then, you don't want to run up there and just start beating the tar out of this person. And this is the program in one aspect. This thing does multiple things. In one area, it kind of concentrates on it. You going up there and not allowing this Rodney King moment, so to speak, or something like that. And that's just the perfect example that I think that everybody that's going to watch this, they can relate to that because everybody has seen that video. And that's one of those things that a lot of people don't even realize that specific video that was a California Highway Patrol stop. It wasn't even LAPD, And anyway, so that's one of the things that keeps people from going too far. And cops get fired all the time from the end of the pursuit thing. I've seen videos of it where, that's when the beating commences, and we just can't be doing that. So. And before or after, I think the cameras have helped actually to prevent a lot of that. But anyway, so that's one aspect. You told a story. What is this? What are we looking at here?
Yeah, I don't know.
I probably, Amanda, sometimes she's researching in the background. She's thinking that's probably, no, that's okay. It's from their site. She's saying, sorry, don't worry about it. I like it. You're thinking. Yep. So, but my point is that's one of the aspects. And then the other aspect is you said something about wellness. Now, I don't know that you can tell the story. I don't know if you feel comfortable enough. You told a story in the academy, and I'd like, if you feel comfortable telling that story, you know the one I'm talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So, I think the biggest thing about being an able instructor is, I mean, you really, the best instructors are people that talk from a place of passion. It's like a firearms instructor. You wouldn't want to go to the range and talk to a guy that's just there to be there. You like to hear the guy that knows what he's doing. He's practiced. He just, you can tell that guy that just really, really knows what he's doing. He's well rehearsed. He's, it's something that inside him is really likes to do. And that's with able is what jumped out with me when, when Tulsa was first implementing the program. I went through the 8-hour program, the initial program, and just was amazed. there's, like you said, Jason, it's like, seldom do you sit through something, you're just like, oh boy, it's mental health, or, oh gosh. But I sat there wide-eyed, and there's very few programs that I've kind of sat through where I'm just like taken back by what I'm hearing. And that first time I sat through the 8-hour course, I was shocked. I was shocked that a department was actually teaching its officers to be looking out for each other in a good way, making sure we're not making those stupid mistakes. And when they do see an officer that's about to make a mistake or has already done so, or making some poor choices, to step in and empower an officer to say, hey, buddy, let's kind of stop what we're doing, or let's prevent what's about to happen, because, I'm looking out for you, you're looking out for me. And, because coming from other department, that wasn't a focus. We didn't have anything like that implemented. And I think a lot of times agencies where your administration loves the I gotcha, by not having a program in a place like that, hey, they can always use punishment. They can always use suspension as a kind of a way to coerce you to do whatever they want. But again, Tulsa being a part of this ABLE program was a game changer for me. And then I sat through another 8-hour course of it and still did the same thing. And that's when I had an opportunity to talk to the captain there and just be like, hey, this is something I want to be a part of. And so getting now to teach at the academy at our in-service, where it's now just like 2-hour blocks, I think you really do have to, the best instructors bring something to the table that it's a piece of them. There's a lot of stories I could tell, and there's another story that I've shared in the previous training, in service, but this particular one really fit what we're doing. So this year we're really focusing on our promoting health and wellness. And, I look back at my career and, we want to get to retirement. I mean, we want to get the pension. We want to have time to enjoy it. We want to be healthy. And our career it's hard to be healthy. You think, hey, as police officers, you guys are going to be the fittest, you're going to be the best. Well, we want to be, but we're working crazy hours. If you don't have a gym, you don't get into one unless you find a 24-hour one. But my gosh, you're probably already going to be super tired. There's nothing open at 3 a.m. that's good food. So you're going to start eating bad food if you're not prepared, if you're not like a good food prepper. Mm-hmm. But we're kind of our worst enemies at treating ourselves right. We can sit there and we can talk to somebody that's having a mental health break, and we've gone through, hundreds and hundreds of hours of mental health training, and we can talk people off of a ledge. We can talk people to, not harm themselves, and we can get them help. But like, seldom do we do it for ourselves. Seldom do we do it for other officers. And this particular incident that had come to mind in my career was paramount because it just stuck with me. And so what I kind of shared with that class that you were in, Jason, was, early on in my career with Bixby, we had gotten a call, and that part of the town was kind of patchworky when it comes to jurisdiction. So we shared a lot of those areas when it got south, in the south end of town, with Tulsa County. So with the Tulsa County Sheriff's Department and Bixby Police Department, we kind of had like a little patchwork quilt of who has what. But it was very often that a lot of times we would get a request by Tulsa County Sheriff's Department if something was happening in their jurisdiction and they didn't have a deputy nearby. That, our MOU, that we would work with the county and we could go to their calls. So a call comes out one night, late at night, and it was a physical domestic with a firearm. And, I've been to countless domestics. I mean, that's like 90% of pretty much what we do now in law enforcement is just going to domestic calls. And But so it's kind of one of those, okay, I'm already preparing myself what to expect, but throwing in a firearm in the mix instantaneously was a game changer. My mindset went straight to, okay, there's only a couple options that are going to sound pretty viable with this. Number one, this is a person that I'm going to end up responding to a homicide. I mean, the wife is actively fighting the husband with the gun, is how that came over from dispatch. So, my first thought is when I get there, somebody's already going to be shot. Is this going to be a murder-suicide? Or am I going to have to take deadly force? Am I going to have to get there and immediately have to resort to that? But all those, I'd already worked those things through my mind. I had already pre-planned all that stuff in my head years ago before I even got to that moment, because I always ran scenarios in my head on this job. What happens? What if? And so when we get there, and it only took from the time I got the call to the time it ended, it was 7 total minutes. 7 total minutes of this gentleman's life that could have been changed somewhere months and years before this night. So, I get there, I pull up, there was pretty much 3 of us officers that got there. There was a supervisor, myself, and another officer. And immediately we found him. He was standing out in the field. The wife came running to us. He still had a handgun in his, but it was kind of hard to tell if he still did. We're calling out to him, trying to get him, if he has a gun, to drop the gun. But just come, you're not in trouble. Just come to us. We want to help you. What changed this dynamic a lot too is the fact that, we discovered that this was a local firefighter. I mean, this is a local first responder. And I mean, that's, for us in our profession, that's a lot of times unheard of. And so, we're trying to get him to come to us. He gets a little closer. He gets to about where he's about 20 yards from us. And unfortunately, turns the gun on himself and shoots himself. Now, I knew very little of this man's life up until right then and there. This happens. I mean, he does this in front of the officers. He does it in front of his wife, who was standing there. So very traumatic situation that primary trauma that we experienced, the secondary trauma that you're getting from now the wife's grief. But we close out that scene, and then I begin to discover a lot more information of his background and what was leading up to this point. And then, unfortunately, this gentleman, he'd been injured on duty, just like a lot of first responders get. Yeah. And especially in the fire service. I mean, I'm not a firefighter. I don't want to run into buildings that are burning. But, somewhere in the mix, he got hurt. And it's like anything. It's on-duty injury. You get stuck going through workers' comp. It drags on. And you get to a point where you're not being heard. And his pain that he was having wasn't being fixed. And just like anything back in the early to mid 2000s, it was, doctors were just kind of like, well, here's some opioids, here's some hydrocodone, here's whatever it is, OxyContin, take it for 30 days because that's what they would give it to you, or here's a 60-day supply. And studies will already show you that all it takes is about 7 days to take an opioid to find yourself addicted, your body becoming addicted. And you get on a 60-day supply. I mean, it's that much harder for your body to overcome it. But this poor gentleman, he found himself to where the pills that he was supposed to take didn't work anymore. So now you got to find other ways to ingest them, and began using them not the way they were prescribed, using other methods to make it quicker. And that's kind of what started the downfall that night, was the wife walking in and finding him using them intravenously. And the big problem with that is the fact that this is a gentleman that never set out to do that. I mean, this is a gentleman that wanted to serve his community. He wanted to, protect people. He wanted to, put himself in danger for others. I mean, this man dedicated his life as a firefighter. At no point in time did he walk into the fire academy saying, hey, give me, addiction as a coping mechanism.
Right.
Give me, bad choices. That was nowhere on his radar. But unfortunately, it builds up to that night. And the crazy thing is, our actions in those moments have a ripple effect. I know I talked about it in the class with you, Jason, about the domino effect. We see it in our lives when something happens, his injury or our injury or a bad decision or lack of sleep leads to another bad thing, leads to another bad thing. And unfortunately for this, this family, it ended up affecting them even more, to the point that a few years later, their 12-year-old son goes into the exact same field and shoots himself, and it carries that grief on even more with the family. And the big question,
you said 12?
Yeah, he was 12.
Wow.
So, and the sad reality is, at any point in time, somebody could have stepped in. At any point in time, somebody could have said, hey, you don't look like yourself, or what's going on? And that's what ABLE, part of ABLE is about, is looking out for each other's mental health and well-being. It's like when you see an officer that is normally polished and his uniform's tucked in and he's bright and he's ready to go, and he comes in that day and he's not talking, uniform's disheveled, maybe he just doesn't even stick around for a shift brief and he's just out the door and just ghosts. He's not on the radio. Maybe he likes to joke around, or she likes to joke around, and they're just not that personality. Is a time you need to start talking to each other. Or maybe they go to becoming super aggressive. Maybe they're the sweetest, kindest officer in the world, and now they're just hyper aggressive and just angry at everybody. Mm-hmm. Those indicators are times that we can be able to step in and say, hey, let's have a talk. Whether it's a private talk, listen to what they need to say or do. And maybe if it gets to a point where you're just like, okay, I think this is a little more than I can handle, and this may be more than you could probably handle, maybe we get you some good help. We get you into the right programs. Like we have, first responder support services with the city of Tulsa. Right. Love the program. But, being able to talk to counselors and therapists and, get stuff off our, out of our heart and our soul, because we just ingest so much. But, that's one of the things I love about ABLE. And, being able to share that and recognize that, wow, the things I've gone through hopefully can help somebody else down the road.
Yeah, right. So this program, if a person is listening in from, let's say, my friends from East Palo Alto, California, that are cops there, and they were like, hey, that sounds really interesting, and that may be something we may need to implement at our department. Is there a cost associated with this to the department?
I'm not quite sure what the cost is. I mean, that's a good question. That would be a Georgetown University Law Center question. So okay. I'm not the guy with the pocketbook. So
I would assume that there probably is a little bit of a cost just because of the materials that they provide.
Yeah, I would imagine. And definitely on the instruction side, because you're definitely teaching when they teach instructors. It's a week-long course, and so they're able. National instructors are there online with us and walking us through the whole week-long process. And
so you were trained online. Basically, yes. You're okay. So, yep. And do you have any statistical data in reference to a couple of things that come to mind when you're talking about this thing? Number one, statistically, how many departments kind of subscribe to this already that are the major departments in this country? Can you name a handful of other agencies that are already doing this also?
No, I probably couldn't. I'd have to look on probably their website to see. I just know, let me say this much. So when I was going through the program, we had numerous agencies all getting trained as ABLE instructor. So I know that there was men and women from like New York Port Authority, police, going through the program, NYPD, departments up in Connecticut that are definitely using it. And then
so it's spreading.
Yes, and there was officers from the Texas area that were sitting through the program with me as well. So we had a they break you up in small groups from the program when you're getting taught, and just the handful that I was with, everybody was from somewhere different, and so it was neat to see the different agencies, but it was also neat to hear some of the differences of how they do stuff, but how similar we are across the nation, and what we do, and the crime we fight, and just pretty much how we pretty much handle ourselves regularly.
I'll tell you what, I remember something that I don't know if you remember this or not, but we're similar in age. I'm a little older. I'm like a senior citizen now, so that gives you an idea. So just to kind of, there was a show that was on HBO, and I don't know if I've mentioned this on a previous podcast or not, but I'll mention it again because I think it's worthy of mentioning. There was a show on HBO. It was one of the original documentary shows, and it was called. Oh God, just escaped me just now. It'll come to me in a minute, but it was an original thing on HBO, and it was a documentary series. They'd have different things on, like addiction, or then they'd have another one which was like, this one specifically was about PTSD in law enforcement specifically, and they have scrubbed that you can't find this episode to watch it on YouTube. You can't order it. It's just gone. I don't know why it's gone, because I think it's a really exceptional video. I've probably got a copy of it on VHS up in my attic, and golly, I can't believe I forgot that freaking name of that thing. But anyway, so because I talk about it all the time. But in this episode, they're looking at Memphis Police Department, and a lot of programs, believe it or not, have come from Memphis. I think the Critical Incidents Response, CIT, which is critical. What does it stand for? You're probably a CIT officer.
No, I'm actually not CIT trained.
Critical incidents. I can't remember. I should know it. I'm one of them. So I'm showing signs of my old age. What the heck is wrong with me? But so what I'm talking about is basically what happens on this particular one that really stands out to me was there was a cop that ends up showing up to a suicidal juvenile. And it was a little girl. She was like 12 years old. She's at her birthday, and she's sitting on the edge of her bed, and the cop shows up there. And I don't know where the parents are in this thing, and I don't know who called it in. I don't remember. But anyway, what ended up happening was that the cop gets there, and he introduces himself to the little girl, and he goes, "Hey, are you okay? I got a call that you're a little bit, depressed and that you're wanting to hurt yourself." And she's like, "Well, yeah, I'm a little depressed." And he's like, "Well, what's going on? It's your birthday." And she's like, "Well, yeah, I'll be okay." And he's like, "Are you sure you don't want to hurt yourself?" And she's like, "No, I'll be okay." And then the cop ends up leaving. And then probably about 5 minutes later, he gets another call to go back to the residence that now the little girl's got a gun to her head. And he rushes back there to that scene. And as he gets there and he's walking down the hallway, that's when he's like, "What are you doing? Stop, put the gun down." And that's when the little girl ends up taking the gun, and she ends up shooting herself. And she's like, "I'm sorry." And then she does that. And then right then, what does the police officer do? He's rushing around. He's doing all these other things, like he's calling supervisors, crime scene, homicide, extra officers, all ambulances, all the stuff that shows up to this kind of stuff. And that's when the supervisor showed up, and he goes, "All right, go ahead and do your report, and then go 10-8." And meaning go back and take more calls. And so to the listener, I can tell you right now, I know that listen, everybody, if you've had most of us have had, if you've ever had any more than one type of interaction with the police, you may have had that moment where you're like, "Man, what's wrong with that dude? That guy's being a jerk." Well, you don't know what that guy's been dealing with. You don't know what the cumulative effect of all of these extra things that they've went to. So if just for anybody that's listening, and I'll give you free advice right here, right now. You could go just something that might just make your brain relax and just kind of absorbs whatever, because you could be a nurse, you could be a first responder, who knows. EMDR music. You can go to YouTube. You can let that play at night when you're sleeping, and that's something that is very, very useful. And it kind of helps your brain just kind of digest all those JPEG files that are up in your brain, and also aromatherapy also helps. But something else you mentioned just a minute ago that I at least want to make a note of it, and that is. You said something about these different programs and a lot of these different things that other agencies or our agency has. We have like psychological services. I don't remember what they call it, but they've got that where cops could go. It's all free. Spouses can go. But not only that, peer-to-peer programs that exist on, I think most departments are starting to get to the point where they've grown up to get peer-to-peer, which is a little bit different than critical incidents response team, but it's still everybody's wellness is in mind. But there are programs that are out there that are completely free to the first responder. Yes. Mighty Oaks is one of them. Mighty Oaks, I think if you're a cop anywhere, there's one in California I know of. They're all over the place. Yep. And if you're interested in something like that, and I'm pretty sure, I know that our department did something brilliant that I thought was really big. I thought that was good that was brought up. You kind of called upon Mike Griffin, who's a big part of that. And that is that our department actually will give you duty days to go to this program, which is huge, man. That's huge to be able to send some of these guys, because if you think about it, probably a lot of these guys, if they're really needing to go to that, they may not even have the vacation time or the sick time, so they're giving them duty days, which is like a week to go to this program. And I don't really know I need to probably get Mike on one day to talk a little bit more about that. But that exists, and those programs exist out there. And so ERAP is another one that I can think of, which is another program that's completely free. And they come to Oklahoma, Arizona. I think there's another state somewhere, in Indiana or Ohio or something like that. But they're out there. And if you're really in need of something like that, and I know Amanda has been scrolling that number at the bottom, that's something to consider calling. I mean, and it doesn't mean that we would rather find out that we'd rather get that help that you need so you can get your career back on track, as opposed to the domino effect that you spoke of. Yeah. Because once you're on that domino effect, man, it could ruin your career. Yeah. And,
well, and that, that's kind of talking about that too. We sometimes we see the domino effect as this negative thing, and, all it takes a lot of times is to flip the domino the other direction and just do a positive thing, one small positive thing along the way. Get a little extra sleep that day, take a day off, take a medical day, take a mental health day, as we sometimes call it. By doing that, hopefully that one little positive step, hey, eat a better meal. Don't eat the third cheeseburger for the day. Eat a salad or eat some grilled chicken. And exercise. I mean, get out, walk. Hit a gym. Those one little step along the way then will be a positive domino effect, and hopefully get you back on track. Sometimes just reaching out and talking to somebody can change the course.
Agreed. I think that exercise is huge. All these things that we're talking about right here. We are so fortunate here. I mean, we've got fit first responders that's available to the cops or first responders, all of first responders and military that can go there for a whopping $25 a month. That's nothing. Okay. Nothing. And then you can go there and in literally 3 hours a week, you're going to transform your life into a whole nother human. And it's
nonprofit too. So that $25 you spend is tax deductible.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah. That's great. Do you go there?
I used to. Yeah. When it first got started, I was going to it all the time. But I do know back when it first got started, there was only certain times, but I think they have it 24 hours now. So.
Oh, really?
They have 24-hour access to the building.
Yeah, and that's great. So if you're in the Tulsa area in Northeast Oklahoma, but we had JC on here. He's one of my episodes. You can go tune in. You can actually go and you can do stuff online, and you don't have to necessarily be in the location. You can actually do it online, and they'll work you through it. And man, you can't beat that. I mean, this stuff is out there. Don't ignore it. If you need something like that, and the reason why I really wanted to have you on, Bobby, to tell you the truth, I wanted the public to be aware, because we have a motherload of people that watch this that are actually just citizens. And I wanted you to know that that we as the police and first responders, we're recognizing that these things are going on, and we want to be the best service providers to you that we can be. We don't want to go out there and start whipping up on somebody. I'm not advocating back rubs in the community. Trust me. There are times when we have to use force, and I don't know that we necessarily need somebody up in our business trying to get involved in it, when they're freaking out. Sometimes we have to do what we have to do. But like I said, I think that this is great that we are recognizing that. Well, you'll admit 15 years ago, 20 years ago, for me, almost 27 years ago, back then, if you stepped in while something was happening, man, it's just not going to be welcomed. No. That was the culture back then, and that has changed drastically up until right now, and I think that's great. So back in the day, you'd probably not have too many friends that would be wanting to go on a call with you, really.
No, you make a really bad name for yourself.
That's right. Anything else that you wanted to add in reference to this program, or any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, number one, if you're an agency that definitely is not part of the ABLE program, and you're especially if you're an administrator or supervisor, reach out to them, find out everything you need to do to get plugged into it. It is a huge benefit for for any agency and for the officers that you work with. I'm fortunate that I work with the Tulsa Police Department, and ABLE is now part of the program, and we're getting to use that through in-service on a yearly basis and learn something more each year with it. The other thing I would say too is, if you're an officer or first responder, and you're struggling with different things, talk to somebody. If you're uncomfortable talking to somebody at work, reach out, counselor, family member, or somebody. Don't hold that stuff in, because we are products of the cumulative effect of trauma. I mean, it's not the one thing that gets you; it's the buildup. It's the 20 calls that you've gone to back to back to back over a career that's just tears at you a little bit at a time. And it is easy to change the course. There's great counseling programs that I think you even hit on that, like the EMDR program. You got the music now. They've got the different lights that kind of helps reprogram your brain. Yep. But if you're struggling, reach out. Just talk to somebody. And then if you have a coworker that you can tell there's just something off about them, talk to them, touch them, ask them, hey, you put a hand on their shoulder and like, hey, let's talk. I'm here for you. Just sometimes letting them know that you're there for their benefit. It hopefully, make a big difference.
Yeah, it's just good for the public to know that we're actually striving in the right direction. We're trying to be the best that we can be, and this is a tough job. It's a tough job. I know this isn't like a topic that everybody's just like, man, I feel so good right now.
Right.
But
I'm not Steve-O, so
Steve-O, man. Oh, wait till that thing hits, man. That thing, you talk about, a million laughs. Listen, Bobby, I can't thank you enough, buddy. I think that this is great. I know that if anybody wants to know more information about this, feel free. You could go to that website. You could check it out there. If you wanted to have, hey, I just want to know more about it, and you're a police officer from any kind of the agencies out there throughout this country, we'll get you. You just reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with the right people that can really kind of tell you the what they think about it. I will say this. Not every program that we implement on this police department sticks around. But this program here, I agree with you, Bobby. I think that this is one of those programs that This is part of the culture of law enforcement, and it's probably going to. I wouldn't be surprised at all if CALEA didn't mandate that police officer agencies throughout this country are going to be required to just have this as part of their regular policies, whatever their training is going to be. So I think that's going to be
it's
great.
a game changer.
It is a game changer, and I appreciate you coming. Hopefully you had a good time. I'm sitting here thinking, I mean, did you have a good time?
Man, Jason, this is awesome. So
okay, it is awesome. It's all kinds of awesome. And that's why we're exploding, and because it is awesome. As a matter of fact, it's so awesome, Bobby. We have episode number 50 that's going to be coming out this Friday. That's 50 awesome episodes.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, and if people, you got to check it out.
Yeah.
You got to go to my YouTube page, Detective Jason White. Subscribe. I mean, I'm telling you, there's a catalog of mountain movers. Like and subscribe. Check us out. Leave a comment. I actually will comment back. I appreciate it. And man, I had a really good time. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of another podcast. I'm going to tell them about you because they do one that's specifically about this kind of stuff. And great. I think they're out of Indiana, and they're friends of mine. And I think that that would be perfect. We're gonna start your podcast career off.
Yeah.
Strong.
And next time I'm on, I'll have a book or something that you can promote or something,
Yes. Well, actually, I will mention a book that I don't have it sitting right here in front of me, but I am going to mention this book. It's Work Aside. And so go to Amazon and look up Work Aside. And that's a book that's, Miss Keesaw, who's a friend of mine. She wrote that book. She was a first responder. She was an actual cop in California, and her boyfriend killed himself. And they're both cops. And she went through that, and she wrote an exceptional book that is available. Their police departments are buying it in bulk, and I'm on the cover of it. So you got to get a copy of that.
You got to promote that. Yeah.
No, it really is a good book, though, honestly. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again. I don't know what number of episode this is. It doesn't really matter. We're gonna fit it in, and I want to thank everybody that has taken the time to spend to watch each one of these podcasts. We try to bring people on here that are going to get you, intellectually smarter, and that's what's up. And I can tell, if I could see through this and see everybody that's watching it, I guarantee you would look smarter after this episode. So thank you, Bobby. Man, great. Is Sharon in the room watching you right now, or
no? I think she's somewhere in the rest of the house. So.
Oh, she is. Okay. Well, then you tell your wife I said hello, and I need to get with her sometime. Tell her she's got a podcast still of cold cases or whatever. I've told her, get me on there, and maybe someday she will. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again, Bobby. And I appreciate you very much. Everybody, tune in to future episodes. Take us out, Amanda.